Okay, so show for today very, very quickly so I can get over to my first guest this evening. Hello, it's been a while, but we'll get a chance to talk a bit about me and my time away and back, yeah. Today, very quickly, first guest for the first, now it's going to be like 13 minutes. We're going to be speaking to Marcia Hutchinson, Councillor Marcia Hutchinson, although she's resigned from that position. Crazy, can't believe it. If you remember, we had Marcia on the show before she was elected to the post of councillor of Beswick and Cllr, and 6 months down the line, she's resigned from the post. Yeah, we're going to be talking to Marcia, so I'm not going to go right into it. We're not going to have long with her today, but next week between 8 and 9, or probably might even going longer than that, we'll be able to talk to Marcia and go into more details as to why she felt she needed to make that decision to step down. It's really perplexing me, and I really want to find out, and I'm sure you would want to know what the situation is as to why she's felt she needed to do that. There is information online that Marcia has put up that you can have access to find out a bit more, but we'll touch on that, and we'll be able to give you some information as to where you can go to and look for yourself and find out some of the background to that information. After that, I'm going to be talking to two brothers this evening. One brother is called Shamanda, the other brother is called Suraj. Shamanda's part of a organization project called Mentor Ubuntu, and Suraj is part of a project called My Brother's Keeper. You know, both dealing with Black male mental health and Black male well-being, dealing with trauma and stuff. So we're going to be talking to those two brothers. Again, it's going to be an interesting conversation with them. Also, I've got some information that I want to share with you. I'm not going to do it at the top of the show. So I'm going to be and I'm going to be sharing this with the terrestrial listeners, my listeners that I've really been here with me for a very long time, this information that I need to share it with. So we're going to be coming offline at about 11:45, and then that 15 minutes, then I'll share the information that I need to share with you today, if you're still with me, and then I'll be going into more details of that next week. So without any further ado, I am here with Marcia, and Marcia, good evening, and thank you very much for being with me on the show this evening.
I'm delighted to be here.
Let me just turn that. I didn't really hear you properly then. Say that again, Marcia.
Any better? I said, thank you, delighted to be here.
Why am I not getting you coming through loud and clear? Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, loud and clear.
Right. Right, let me turn you that up a bit more. Okay then, Marcia, given the timescale and stuff, I don't even know where to start, Marcia. I really don't, because I am still in a sense of shock to find out that you're no longer, you felt you needed to put in your resignation into that post. Where can I start? Tell me. Let's start by saying what you think we need to know. You came on. You were great enough to come on the show while you were going through your campaign. You came on after the show to do with the pipeline, and again, telling us about how you're supporting other people to get into the position where you were. You know, all positive things as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I don't think there was one positive thing one thing that you said that I couldn't deem as positive. What's happened?
Well, it's just been made impossible for me to do my job. That's basically it. So the very first thing I did when elected was try and get the post of Windrush lead created, because as you know, Windrush affected people in Manchester haven't really had much support from the council. So I wanted to get the post of what's called, it's like a liaison officer, a named councillor, not just council officer. And everyone agreed, said, it's a great idea. I spoke to 64 different councillors, all of whom said, great idea. Spoke to the leader of the council, Richard Leese, great idea, we'll recommend it for approval. And then when it came around to the meeting, they had changed their minds and didn't put it on the agenda. And there was no clear reason why it shouldn't happen. It's not like it was a paid post or anything. It was just, you know, a named person. And in Lambeth, they've got someone who does that role. And the number of people who have got compensation has increased because Lambeth Council have written to every single household in Lambeth of all races saying, you might be eligible for compensation. Here's the contact details. You know, here's where you can go to help. Manchester hasn't done anything of the sort.
Wow.
So I didn't think necessarily one setback was going to be an issue.
Sorry, Marcia, because I'm having a bit of problem with this audio and I don't know why. It's really... So just give me a minute, please. All right. Right. Okay, my audio is fine. Can you just talk again, Marcia?
Yep, I'm chatting away, seeing how it's going. Just hoping that you can hear me. It seemed to work fine in the sort of sound.
Yeah, it did.
Before
Let me just see now.
Yes,
there you are. We're there.
Any settings?
Okay, brilliant. Sorry about that. And I'm sorry, listeners. And Marcia, I don't think what you said before was really got out. So I'm sorry. Can I ask you to just repeat that?
I'll say it again. So the very first thing I did, the election was on the 6th of May. I became a councillor on the 7th of May. By the 8th of May, I was calling people saying, we really need a Windrush lead. So individual councillors will go to the rest of the council and say, can we have someone to act as a lead on mental health, a lead on active travel, which is walking, cycling, that sort of thing. And I said, we need someone to lead on Windrush, a named person within the council. And I spoke to as many councillors as I could. I got through 62 out of 94, all of whom said, yep, it's a great idea. I put a proposal together, put people's names on the proposal. And I was told that the Labour group leadership, which is about 4 or 5 people, thought it was a great idea and they were going to recommend that the rest of the council approve it. So when I went to the meeting, it wasn't on the agenda and I thought, what's going on here? The June meeting, it also wasn't on the agenda. And then I discovered that the whole thing had been scrapped. And not just that, there'd been a complete sea change and very aggressive implication that I'd somehow done something wrong. Now, the only thing that had changed during that time was Richard Leese, the leader of the council, had been challenged. So my fellow councillor, Cllr stood for the leadership of the council. Now, Richard Leese was the leader for 25 years and nobody ever challenged him. He was re-elected every year. Well, once he was challenged, somehow a decision was made that not only was Cllr going to be difficult, but anyone associated with her, all of their projects had to be killed. It wasn't okay for me to have any kind of profile. So it had really nothing to do with Windrush. It was just, we don't want Marcia to have any kind of role that might give her any power. That was it.
What makes you... how did you get that message?
It's never spelled out. It's just from one day to the other, everything has changed 180 degrees. Day one, it's wonderful, great idea. Yeah, we're going to recommend it for approval. And then 3 days later, a complete about face. So you're not given a reason. Just everything.
Who do you go? So when you find these out, who then do you go to? Who do you say, hey, what's this all about?
Well, I spoke to the Labour group secretary, that's Councillor Pat Carney, and everyone just went quiet and said, I don't know. And it's literally playing politics with people's lives, because you know what's happening to Windrush affected people in Manchester. But, you know, the way I took it at that point, you know, I was barely a month into the job. I thought, well, you win some, you lose some, you know, politics gets in the way. And I thought I would, you know, carry on doing my job. But when Richard Leese announced that he was stepping down in September, one of the issues I thought was we need to change the whip's office, which is the way councillors are disciplined. Because what I'd seen is people having disciplinary action taken against them, not because they'd done anything wrong, but because they weren't liked. So my colleague Cllr, she challenged Richard for the leadership in May, and from that day onwards, she was being subjected to disciplinary proceedings, one after the other, after the other, after the other. They're still disciplining her now.
Did she get a bit of what's this? Is that her getting a bit above her station?
Well, it would appear so. She stood, when Richard Leese decided to stand down, she was one of 4 people who stood for the leadership, and she was disciplined for sending out her manifesto to those councillors who asked for it. So the reason you're disciplined is almost irrelevant. It's more just making an example of you because someone is seen to have stepped out of line, but they are doing it to the 2 black women councillors, myself and Cllr.
And then when they start doing this, not that you will know, but what do you think their expectation then for you or Cllr is?
Is that you will toe the line. You'll basically sit your backside down, do as you're told, and stop causing trouble.
But again, 2018, you did a talk at the Labour conference.
Labour conference, that's right.
And you were heralded by everybody who was there for your stance, particularly for what you said with regard to the Windrush. So
not by some councillors in Manchester. One councillor in Manchester actually put a derogatory comment about me on Facebook to say, how dare she criticise the mayor? So the way a lot of people in Manchester operate is if you criticise a policy, they think you are criticising the person behind the policy. So it's impossible to have a discussion about something. It's like, oh no, you're attacking me, and then they come back at you. So when I said I think the whip's office needs to be changed, because the whip's office, which is the organisation, it's only made up of 3 people who enforce party discipline. For instance, after the Sarah Everard murder, 2 female councillors were disciplined for attending a vigil. Yet at the same time, both Richard Leese himself has committed domestic violence, and Carl Ollerhead, who was the finance chief, is currently up on charges for sexual abuse of a minor. I can't say much about that because you can't prejudice a trial, but I was saying this is ridiculous. You're disciplining women for campaigning against violence against women, and yet men these are councillors who have engaged in violence against women don't seem to get the same sanctions.
This is disgusting. I mean,
I was disciplined for saying that.
The council at the time when they had the George Floyd murder, I mean, I don't know if you can say it's connected, but I think it's all connected. The Manchester put out a statement seemingly acknowledging that they had a lot more to do in relation to building relations with African Caribbean community.
They're very good at putting out statements and hand-wringing, but when it comes to actually practically doing something, you'll find that very little actually gets done.
But how then does this resonate then? How are we supposed to look towards other people that are going into the council, whether it's African Caribbean people that
I think it's about numbers. So I'm not saying don't go and become a councillor. I'm saying eventually we will get the numbers. So I'm still helping other people.
Will it be numbers of people who are free, or is it numbers of people who are going to be tongue-tied and everything else?
Well, you never know. You might get a Priti Patel, a child of refugees who goes on to attack refugees. You never really know whether someone will stick up for their community once elected, or they will decide they know which side their bread is buttered on.
But then the talk also, election time and otherwise, is about serving your constituents and doing the best for them. So what kind of say do constituents or other people have when these kind of situations take place?
Well, we're really in a situation where the only thing people can do is choose not to vote for that person next time around. But because 94 out of the 96 councillors in Manchester are Labour, it's what's known as a one-party state. You know, the other two are one Green, one Lib Dem. They have no power whatsoever.
And do you put Manchester down as some kind of individual in the, I'm going to use it, in the cesspit that seems to be going on, or is this a wider Labour issue?
I think it could be seen as a wider Labour issue. So, for instance, recently, Marcia Hutchinson, who is the Equalities Minister, has asked Keir Starmer to make a firmer statement on anti-racism, and his office is apparently resisting because they don't want to offend red wall voters. And to me, that appears to be a black MP saying, please condemn racism, and Keir Starmer going, no, because I might offend racists and we want them to vote for us.
It's a massive, again, reflection on, Roy, I don't remember if it's a reflection on the African Caribbean community or a reflection on how for granted Labour have taken the African Caribbean community forever, you know.
Yeah, and I think
how docile are we?
I don't think we're docile at all. I think we are a community that works hard and that is incredibly stoic, as in, right. You know, we put up with a lot of suffering before we complain. You know, a lot of Windrush people are not getting the compensation. Partially, one of the reasons is they don't want to say this is how much suffering I've gone through. So, yeah, our communities are taken for granted. You know, I think one of the safest seats in the country is Manchester Central, which is Lucy Powell's constituency. And yet, Lucy has no black staff at all in her offices. And it's black people keeping MPs like that in power.
But it's sad because I know, you know, I don't know obviously the fullness, and hopefully next week we'll go into more depth. But I am aware that others have had the same kind of vilification when they've taken these positions in Manchester Council. I'm talking about Zeke, who was a Labour councillor. I can't remember his first name, but I'm sure it was Zeke. And then you also had Mrs. Brandy as well, who both, you know, I've seen them at a point where they'd left, and they were really not broken, but really disappointed, because like yourself, in the sense of you saying, why should I be somewhere where I can't make a difference? They were of the same, you know, they loved the community, wanted to do things as much as you did, and they felt they were forced, that they couldn't do that, their hands were tied.
Well, if what you're trying to do is effect change, and there is a large organisation who see it as their role to stop you doing that, and they can keep going with disciplinary action, one after another, after another, after another. They can make life incredibly hard for you. And eventually it does wear you down, because there are a huge number of obstacles put in your way. So, for instance, the pipeline project, trying to increase the number of black councillors. I contacted the town hall and said, oh, can I run the training in the town hall? And they said, oh, no. And I said, well, why not? Oh, well, you'd have to pay. And I got back and said, yeah, we've got funding, we can pay for it. And then the reason changed. And the reason was, oh, no, it's not appropriate. No reason was given. They just didn't want black people in the town hall.
Wow. Marcia, listen, I'm really, really sorry with the time and stuff. And I definitely look forward
we'll talk again. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, for us to be able to relax and have this conversation. There was this thing there from somebody called Gloria about, are you a Marxist? Don't really know what you mean by that, Marxist.
No, I'm not even going to answer that question.
I'm a human. That's it. Okay?
Yeah.
So we are going to be speaking to Marcia again next week from 8 p.m. on the search engine. Marcia, I know you're and I hate using it. I don't even want to use the term strong, because it doesn't come down to that.
Yeah, because it implies that black people can bear everything.
Yes.
You shouldn't have to.
yeah, and that's not the point. So I'm just glad that you are still you're looking as well as you are. And I know, you know, I hope this isn't something that's going to take you away from politics. But
I'm
again,
taking a break. I'm regrouping. Let's put it that way.
Okay, right. Well, hopefully we can talk next week about where the liftoff will be after the regrouping. Yeah.
All right then.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, and
Speak
to you soon. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Okay. That was Marcia Hutchinson there. We're going to pay some bills. Yeah, and then we're going to come back and we're going to be talking to Suraj and Shamanda. We'll be right back. What's happening there? Hold on. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
Hi, I'm Natural Mystic. Help keep Legacy.
Greetings, Shamanda.
Greetings, Anthony.
Greetings, Suraj. Listen, apologies for the time. I know I was going to come over to you for 1:15. We are still live. We're not live terrestrially on air as yet. We're still just doing the advert, so we've got like a minute and a half to go on that, and then we'll be live online and also live terrestrially talking to Manchester. So my apologies for the time, but that conversation that I had before with Marcia was needed to be had, even if it was just a little bit of an input. I mean, it is quite a recent situation that has taken place for her yet, but I think it's something that has massive implications on a political level for us as an African Caribbean community in this area. Yeah. Not necessarily to battle, but to definitely learn from. Yeah. What's that saying? If you keep doing the same things and expecting a different outcome, then, you know, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work like that. And, you know, if they're doing this to one person and getting them to shut up and walk away within 6 months of taking a post, which it takes. I mean, when somebody goes to be a councillor, it's like you've got to put in quite a lot of time before you even get nominated for that role. There's quite a lot of things that you've got to do. So yeah. So we've literally got 15 seconds, and then we're coming back. Yeah, we'll be live. So we'll be right back. See you in a not see you. Well, I'm staying with you.
Legacy 90.1.
Yes. Welcome back. You're in tune to Legacy Radio, and this is the search engine with Anthony. And just before we was talking to Marcia Hutchinson, formerly Councillor Marcia Hutchinson from Beswick and Cllr, stepped down in less than 6 months due to the treatment that she received, which allowed her, stopped her from doing her role. We're going to be talking to Marcia next week from 8 p.m. Won't be as speedy and as rushed as we did in that little segment there at the beginning. We'll be able to take our time and really get into the conversations, implications for her, for us, for the community moving forward. So we're here now, yeah, and got two amazing brothers, yeah, that I want to talk to this evening. This show was originally the T.A.P Talks show, and we still might be joined by Otis later on, but Otis is the one that's put us in touch with Suraj and Shamanda. And Shamanda is the founder and director of Mentor Ubuntu, and Suraj is the founder of My Brother's Keeper International. So let me just go over there and let's start with you, Suraj. Can you just tell us a bit about My Brother's Keeper, a bit about yourself, and then a bit about My Brother's Keeper, please?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So, my name is Siraj Oloboyaga Tukumbo Odukunle, and basically my background is working with youth in PRUs, in referral units, as well as working with children with special needs, ADHD, children who are autistic, and the list goes on. So I've worked in the public school system as a learning support assistant, interventions unit officer. The list goes on.
You've done a lot. Yeah.
So
And again, all those roles are obviously working for the most part is working with people, isn't it? So yeah.
So I've been in the game for about almost a decade, working in various roles, working specifically with with African descent children.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been definitely a challenging ride, but also an eye opener with obviously what goes on within the Black families, and also what goes on within the system.
Excellent. And my brother's keeper.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I am also a director of a documentary called The Man in the Mirror.
Okay.
And which launched which I did local community event in London, just basically giving our brothers and sisters the perspective of what goes on from being a Nigerian born in the UK and dealing with the issues which I faced growing up, in society, so I kind of touched on areas within the documentary when it comes to mental health, abuse, schooling, street life.
Okay.
Various other issues as well. So the documentary also springboarded an independent project I was doing called My Brother's Keep. Sorry, the Man in the Mirror project. So the Man in the Mirror project was a project I launched before My Brother's Keeper International, where I was basically just doing independent work with brothers, community development, community workshops, presentations, events, and basically just public speaking engagements.
Excellent. And the name, My Brother's Keeper. How did you come about that term? I mean,
yeah. So basically, I eventually thought of just expanding and reaching out to one or two people who have been supportive along the journey, and I decided to basically create a platform which can be beneficial to the brothers in different parts of the diaspora. So I just had the foresight of just going above and beyond, because normally when it comes to anything to do with our brothers' self-development, it can be something which is a bit complex, because number one, many brothers don't open up about their own traumas, or what's bothering them, or what kind of holds them back in life from progressing. And also, there's not much support. Like over the years, I know there's been a few organizations which have surfaced to the public to support brothers when it comes to healing, which is I think is brilliant, and amazing that these organizations are out there. But I had that foresight to go a bit further, by creating an online platform which can help brothers in various areas of their own self-development. So not just healing from a perspective of receiving counseling, but also to help them in areas when it comes to the mind, body, and soul. So whether that's financial literacy, spirituality, nutrition, rites of passage. So I created this platform to connect with different facilitators across the diaspora. I've either been networking with over the years, or I've reached out to just to create that bond, to build that bridge, because a lot of the times when we're going through struggles, we deal with these struggles locally, rather than trying to reach out to those, overseas, And also when I came out, it was a challenge. I funded a lot of my work myself. I funded a lot of the work myself. I felt, at first when I did the launch for my documentary, I received quite a bit of traction to it, but obviously eventually I felt it was a bit of a challenge in the London community for various reasons. So I decided to just, spread the message on social media with what I do, my thoughts and, things to do with the documentary, and also decided to travel overseas to do my public speaking engagements as well, and now, I'm known in different parts of the world, with with what I'm trying to build, So I think it's really important that we try to I know it's difficult because everybody's either busy or there are differences in the community, as we spoke about earlier, and so forth. But I feel when it comes to that end result, we have to kind of put certain differences aside and see what we can achieve for the betterment of our people.
Most definitely. And actually the term "my brother's keeper," it sounds like in a way you've just set out the stall. Do you know what I mean? Because "my brother's keeper" says it all, doesn't it? It kind of like says, I'm there for you.
Yeah, it's definitely that term was being used. Like at the beginning, I was kind of I was obviously in two minds, only because the term has been used. But then part of me just thought, what, let me just use that term, but obviously add the international part just to let people know, like, this is a global thing. We reach out, we connect with brothers in the diaspora to build those bridges and do the necessary work needed in order to produce the necessary results.
Brilliant. Okay, I'll back to you a bit more in a bit. Let me just say hello to Shamanda, and thanks for your patience and waiting there, bro. Can you just tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about Men's Talk Ubuntu, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Siraj. It was a pleasure to hear your story and journey over there. Yeah, about myself, more recently, for the past, say, 6 years or so, I've been lecturing part-time and pursuing a PhD part-time in authentic leadership development, into various outdoor activities and engagement, engaging with keeping fit. That's been a big driver for me. Prior to that, I was working in HR, having studied human resource management for my master's and undergraduate. Worked in various retail jobs prior to that as well, or during the studies and whilst in college. Prior to that, I hail from Zambia, so I was born and bred over there and moved to the UK in 2005. So I suppose I give a bit of that because to lead into Men Talk Ubuntu,
You're also quite a renowned Toastmaster, aren't you?
Well, some might say so.
Research, mate.
I've been rumbled.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I say, both of you have got so much that you could bring to the table, in such a beautiful way, in how you have, touched people along the way, in what you have been doing, right? And I'm not going into it now, but I also came up across a situation that happened to you, Shamanda, while you were out walking. So in a kind of like way, we have to give thanks that you're even here with us today.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I'll give some thanks for that. Yeah.
Much appreciated. You're very gracious. But yeah, I've also been a Toastmaster for quite a few years. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster now, so I've worked my way up and earned my stripes, if you will.
Distinguished. You said it. Nice one.
Yeah. It took 7 years, but I got it.
Yeah, man. Well done. Yeah. So I stopped you there. You're just going to go into Men Talk and Ubuntu.
Yeah. So Men Talk Ubuntu. Essentially, I'm one of the founders. Originally, there's 3 founders: myself, my friend Ray, and my other friend Chris. And we formed it during the lockdown, while the pandemic was going on, because we faced our own individual mental health challenges, as well as just the everyday challenges that everyone will face, with family, with work pressures, and just maybe perhaps things that we've had in our own past, things we've experienced, things we've seen. And what was really, although lockdown was one of the hardest periods, and I think a lot of families found this with reconnecting via Zoom and spending more time, it also happened with friendships. And that's it became, I suppose, my friendship in particular with Ray really blossomed during that time, because while we had the space, we started to open up about more of what we were going on and talking about some really much deeper topics, and forming a bit of a support community and a support network, much like what Suraj was describing in what My Brother's Keeper, I suppose, intends with part of its work. And off the back of that, we were hoping to give other people the space to benefit from such a system. The name came from originally Ray wanting men to talk more openly, and him really pushing for that space, creating a space where men felt like they could talk. And the Ubuntu was actually from a conversation I'd been having with my dad about 2 weeks prior to Ray bringing this up in conversation, where he was introducing me to the concept of Ubuntu from a story that he'd read about a cameraman, I think, from somewhere international, going to a village in Africa, handing out some sweets to a group of children to see what would happen, and so he could take some pictures. The assumption being, like, say, most children perhaps in the West might do, they would grab all the sweets, grab as many as they can because it's a wonderful treat, and then, run around. Latecomers eat bones, as we say in Zambia. But what he was surprised by was the fact that the children displayed instead patience and kindness, really, to ensure everyone got given a sweet before they ate it. They weren't handing a sweet out to each other and then eating it right away. They were waiting to make sure that everyone had a sweet. And when he was asking, why are you doing that? The response was Ubuntu, which is simply, I am because you are. And this notion of, if you're not doing okay, I'm not doing okay. I won't have if you won't have. But more importantly, you will have and I'll have. So we want to uplift each other. So when the Men Talk handle was introduced, I proposed that we also add the Ubuntu element, because when men talk, we can form a strong community of people who care for one another. And not just men talking, that's the beginning, because those men will talk and they'll go on to take that ethos into their families, with their friends, and hopefully into their workplaces. So it's something that we were hoping would spread out. And on that, Ray also recalled doing us going up Mount Snowdon, going through Snowdonia National Park, and this great sense of achievement that he felt at the time, because it was a huge milestone. And for most people who've never really been hiking or never climbed a mountain or anything, it sounds like an insurmountable task. So we set ourselves the challenge of inviting other Black men in particular, for two reasons. Black men in particular, well, we're Black, but because during the pandemic, we were, I suppose, disproportionately affected by what was going on. And we are also one of the communities that's least likely to engage with any of the services that are there intended to help. Or if we do engage with them, sometimes the way that we engage with them results in a not so positive experience, and a misunderstanding of how we're coming across. So yeah, we set that challenge and we reached out to as many men as we could. I think a group of about 20 altogether sort of responded and came out, and it was a wonderful day out. And yeah, so a lot of people came who didn't believe that they could. Some people, particularly invited by me, weren't told the details. They were just told it's a hike. And because in my opinion, it's a metaphor for life. You don't know what's coming. And the whole idea that we were trying to embed in everyone's mind is, A, you're capable of much more than you believe yourself to be. And if you've got the right people around you, you will get through it. You don't have to know everything, and you have to embrace letting go of control. And finally, it was also because what we wanted to really highlight is this idea of building a network. We might all say the cliche of your network is your net worth, but we don't always really embrace that, and we don't really diversify our network. Okay, so I feel like I might be going on for a bit, and I'm sure we want to have this as a discussion.
Well, we're just going to take a short break. Yeah, the break is out to the listeners terrestrially. We will still be online. We'll still be live online. So I'm going to let the break. It's only 2 minutes, but then I'm going to come back to you and we can have a little chat. Like I said, we're still live, so everybody can still hear what we're talking about. Listen, currently I'm speaking to, this is Shamanda, also speaking with Siraj. Shamanda is from Men's Talk Ubuntu, Siraj from My Brother's Keeper, both looking to inspire and get the best out of Black men. Siraj looking at areas of trauma and identity, rites of passage, and Shamanda, again, looking at positive perceptions of Black men and mental health. We'll be talking much more about that right after this break, okay?
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
WISSC presents with safe.
Yeah, guys. Thank you for that. I mean, I think it's really great, and I'm really pleased that Otis was able to kind of like put this together, and you were able to make it, because I don't. When I'm thinking back even to shows that I've done on here, we've talked on Black male mental health, but sometimes I don't think we've really dumbed down into what that actually does mean, how so much we don't even talk about so many things. So for you guys to be able to create that space where Black men feel comfortable to share how they feel, how they think, pressures, stresses that they're dealing with is mightily important. And yeah, I'll thank you for the work that you're doing. And again, as young men, it's great to see that, because I know there's so many elders who have done work, and sometimes you wonder, why. I mean, we had. I mean, I don't know if you know, this is a actual scholar. His name is Ranoko Rashidi, and he passed away earlier this year.
Yeah.
And he's a historian, of immense knowledge, gathered around the world, gone around the world trying to bring information to uplift us, as a people, to let us know that anywhere there is in the world, we've been there, we are there. And yeah, he passed away, but he did so much in the sense of not knowing, I suppose, like you are doing. Sometimes you don't know what people get from what you do. Sometimes you can only know the intention that you set out to do something. And most definitely what I'm hearing from you both is that that's the way that you've your foundation for what it is that you're both doing. So I'm sure you've had much praise and thanks for that, and I'm adding my piece into that as well. We're going to come right back.
90.1.
Okay, welcome back. You're on Tune to the Search Engine with Anthony. Currently, I'm speaking with Siraj. And Siraj, do you know what? I've been on here for 13 years, yeah, and I'm terrible when names come out pronouncing names, right? So sometimes I like to try, yeah, and sometimes usually 5 minutes before the end of the show, I get it right, yeah. So I'm gonna have a try with yours. So I don't know, you can give me marks out of 10 or whatever, yeah. So it's Siraj Odikunle.
Yeah, just about, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, just about. So that's about a 7.5 then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. and you're Perslow, Shimanda Perslow.
That's correct.
All right. Well, okay, so you listen to the Search Engine. Currently talking to Siraj Odikunle and Shimanda Perslow. Shimanda from Mentalk Ubuntu. Now you can go online and find both Siraj and Shimanda. Shimanda very much on YouTube. If you put in there Mentalk Ubuntu, there's numerous programs and shows that they've done. And also, if you go on My Brother's Keeper International, MBK International, you'll be able to get onto Siraj's website and see some of the amazing things that they have been doing. Siraj, can I just ask you? Your project is online, yeah, and you said before that you chose to do that online because of a challenge. You found something challenging. Can you elaborate on that?
Online, well, it's a bit. It just segueing from Brother Shamara. Because of how things were moving forward in regards to the pandemic, most people were trying to adapt. I found it that most people were trying to adapt to online interaction when it came to networking. Not to say it wasn't going on already through the social media platforms, but I felt because the future was moving forward, going forward, that most events or certain spaces of interaction is going to go, which is going to be more or less online. I thought, let me just take advantage of that, So during obviously the time of obviously COVID, I myself, I was going through some personal situations, health-wise, like physically and mentally, and it kind of sparked within me. You know what? Let me try to get with the program, because I'm really old-fashioned when it comes to doing events or workshops or whatever, and doing it face to face with our people. So I was just doing a bit of exploring, and I just took time to put together this platform where we're not just giving brothers a safe space, but we're also giving brothers the opportunity to focus and work in various areas of self-development, where they can get to the point where they are accountable, and they can just move forward and be the best version of them, But at the same time, incorporating that, as you mentioned, with the self-identity, and also giving them that rites of passage, so it's just basically about, just keeping everything African centered, because that's what is, important for us to gain that, that racial confidence, like returning back to Sankofa.
Mm-hmm. And when you're saying about the African centeredness, because there is, and I'm not saying it wasn't needed, it was needed before, but I think there's been a resurgence after the murder of George Floyd in a bit of whether it's a true acknowledgement, but our acknowledgement that there is a conversation that needs to be had between the Black community, Black males, Black females, so therefore the African-centered approach is needed. Have you found any resistance to seeing, have you been called a segregationalist?
What, in this country? In this country? Probably it's weird, when you kind of come across, when you meet people, because I remember, I think one time I was in Victoria Coach Station. I don't know if any of you know where that is, but there was a time I saw this. I think there was this sister I saw who I think she was doing like a spoken word or something, and I think when I came across, I was thinking, oh, yeah, do you remember me? And she was like, oh, yeah, you're that brother what does the black stuff. So it's kind of crazy when you meet people which kind of separate themselves from who we are originally, as we are the original people. It's just crazy how we just separate us. It's like, it's more or less a picking and choosing, because especially when people go to the workplace, there's that, with certain people who want to stay in their job, there's always that conforming, because they feel that they don't want to step on toes or miss a promotion or whatever. So it's always that conforming, and I find it quite a lot over here, where people pick and choose. And normally, over the years since, doing events and whatever, being outspoken as I am, anytime I've, just been kind of direct, you always feel that uncomfortableness, and you kind of get to know that a bit later with the, the people engaged with, who you think, carry the African centeredness close to their, their hearts, so it's quite intriguing, but, you just have to continue on and, do the work, and also just hoping that it, resonates with those who hear your voice, hear the message,
Definitely. How about you, Shamanda? How unapologetic are you with the fact that, your project's called Men's Talk and Ubuntu, but it is, essentially focused towards Black men? Yeah,
I'm very unapologetic because I see the value in what we're bringing. I didn't say, no one's called me a segregationalist, and I think they'll be very hard pressed to try and convince anybody that that's the way that I move. But my passion is rooted in my own experience, and in particular, probably like you were suggesting, Suraj, when I say I faced my mental health issues, and not just, it wasn't just I faced them, because everyone faces these issues. And for example, I go to Andy's Man Club, which is open for everyone. But even everywhere you go that there's mental health available, you'll be hard pressed to find a lot of Black men present. you'd be hard pressed to find another one black man present. And I think that's the core issue, because when we're saying people have mental health issues, and when they're talking about COVID bringing anxiety, depression, and stress through the roof, and it's causing people issues in life, this is where that poignant number of men are 4 times more likely than women to commit, an act that they can't take back, right? When I think about the fact that that's the statistic for men, and then there are men who are like me, in particular, who won't have access to anything that could mitigate or prevent them from going through that. And even deeper than that, when I then think all it would take, because all it's taken or it took for me was a conversation, and that everything can change from a conversation. It's that simple. When we look at ourselves as a community, and when we look at those conversations not happening, and sometimes that being seen as a sign of strength, which is fine. There are many reasons why, yes, it can come across as a strong, you're a strong man if you can bear with some of these things. But yeah, so anyone who would say to me, I'm a segregationalist, I'd say absolutely not. It's a conversation. If it's a conversation around mental health, I'm open to have it with everybody. However, I'm very much focused on trying to get more black men engaged, not just in the conversation, but in building their network when they engage with other people, and in seeing some of the other opportunities, because some of the issues causing all this stress and anxiety are sometimes feeling like you're stuck in a situation. And that might be because you hear about it. Someone would see the drug dealers with the nice cars and the girls, but they'll never see the doctor. They'll never see the counselor. They'll never see the accountant. And they won't go for those careers because they don't see them, right? If you can get into these spaces with other people who are in those careers, it changes your thinking. It stops you being stressed out. It stops you being anxious when you walk in the room and believing that you're not able to aspire to some of these higher level jobs, and all you can go for is the lower ones that leave you stuck in a vicious cycle and low pay, low income. And that's why we end up seeing our community get hit more when COVID hits, because more of us work in those, shall we say, jobs that keep you a bit powerless, where you don't have as much autonomy and you don't have the freedom and you don't have the power to negotiate things.
Most definitely, most definitely. And just to compound kind of what you're both saying there, I just was looking at a bit of a report that was done on ethnicity, and kind of like spotlighting some of the kind of issues with regard to COVID and how it has impacted on so-called BAME mental health in so many different areas. When you're looking at anxiety, it's gone on the rise since the start of COVID. Depression on the rise. This is from the government website, Ethnicity Spotlight, tracking the ethnicity inequalities in the population. And you can get this online, and it breaks down looking at anxiety to depression to life satisfaction, loneliness, major stress with regard to finance, thoughts of death and self-harm, which there's a major spike in that, and self-reported self-harm. Kind of very scary statistics, but much of probably from what you're saying there, this is just what we know, and there's probably so much more that are suffering in silence.
Yeah, exactly, because those statistics only come out when people report them or respond, and if you're from a community that typically doesn't engage with that, you're not going to be represented. You're not going to be there. Only a select few will respond. Even most of the studies that you're going to come across, I mean, okay, in the US, yeah, there'll be a lot of surveys that are completed with African American males. But if you look around elsewhere, most, especially the global ones that get sent out, you're looking at mainly European countries and European responders, or should we say.
It's also not specific, because when we're using the terminology, BME, we're not necessarily, it kind of, this is where it gets complicated, because when you're saying BME, it's not necessarily highlighting, specifically our brothers, and also, and this is something I've been speaking about for the past few years, with people in regards to, creating that database where we are taking stuff, taking it into our own hands of, having our version of the census. Because if we're going to continuously rely on, these statistics, how will we then apply the necessary framework needed in order for us to solve our own issues as a community? And that's one in many problems which we are encountering.
Okay, got a couple of questions here, a couple of statements and a question. Hi, Butterfly Sue. Yeah, been a long time. Thank you. He says, I've been trying to fight for a mental health home-based detox program, but got to have my bloods done first. Well, you go for that, and I'm sure it'll go well. The other one is thanks to the brothers for their work. Much needed. Well done. Keep up the good work. Thank you for that. 674. And then also, what does Ubuntu mean? 678. Shamanda.
He tuned in late.
Yeah, he tuned in late. Anthony had it where it was saying, it means, people are people through people, and it means I am because you are.
I am because
you
are.
Yeah, and what we're looking at here is community. So if we're of the basic premise being we're in a community where I look out for you and you look out for me. That's the basic premise of Ubuntu. It's not a zero-sum game. Well, it's not a win-lose. We have to negotiate. It's I look out for you, you look out for me. There's nothing I want from you except for you to do well and to be well. There's nothing you want from me except for me to be well and to do well.
Okay, and for both of you, just while you're still talking there, Shamanda, what's the best way for anybody who's interested in finding more out about men's talk? And what's the kind of ways in which, if people want to get involved, whether that's to support what you're doing or to benefit from what you're doing, what's the best way that they can do that?
Okay, best way to find us is on any social media platform. So we're on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, So if you just type in Men Talk Ubuntu, Men Talk is one word, Ubuntu, UBU, so UBU, and look for us, then you'll find us. If you can send us a message on any of those, you can comment on the YouTube videos, you can direct message us on Instagram. That's usually the easiest way. You can usually respond. If you want to, so most of the content you'll find comes from our podcast, and that's one of our ways of trying to normalize this conversation around mental health. It's also another way of trying to introduce the professionals who work in these mental health spaces to people, because they might have a perception of them and forget that these are just people as well. So perhaps when you see that these are human beings, they go through their own things in life, you might then be less guarded when you're thinking about engaging with them. And if you check our social media posts, you might see that we also do events. Thankfully, at the moment, we've got a partnership with CAN, the Caribbean and African Health Network. So there are some amazing organizations who are looking out for the Black community. Currently, we're working with CAN, and we're going to be delivering a few events over the coming months. The next one is going to be in January on the 22nd, where we'll be going for a hike, hopefully up Snowdon, if the weather permits. And you're more than welcome to join us. If you go to Eventbrite and look for us there, same name, Mentalk Ubuntu, you can book a space. If the January 22nd event isn't up, it will be up by this weekend because we have work to do.
Okay.
So we do this
Some people say it's not about the weather, it's about your clothes.
That's true. That's true. There's never a bad experience hiking, and we do have some spare kit here and there. So if you don't have the clothing, feel free to get in touch.
I'd probably, if I was, I'd probably be like I'd be dressed to going up Everest, not Snowdon. If the weather's bad, anyway.
Better to be over prepared.
Yeah. Excellent. That sounds like an absolutely amazing day. I'm going to put it in my. What day is that? Is that a Saturday?
Yes, it'll be a Saturday. We tend to set off early, but you'll get all the information once you register and sign up. And
free registration, or is it
free? Yeah, it's free. So since we've got the partnership with Khan at the moment, it's free. And yeah, in fact, we also originally, after our first event, also had some support from the Phoenix Fund, which is sort of a shoot off from the lottery fund. So again, another organization that's really helping, especially small community focused groups to help organize. A lot of support that we've been able to receive that allows us to carry on. Other ways that people can also help or support us. I mean, finances are always welcome, but we've not fully set everything up. But hey, I'll be lying if I said no. We don't take the money for ourselves. The money always goes back into the organization, and we've got a lot of plans for what we could do with it in the future. Similar things to what Suraj was suggesting, but I won't get into all of that right now. We can do if we have the discussion. If you or someone you know would like to appear on our podcast and you think they've got value to add to the community or something about their own mental health experiences that they'd like to share, please get in touch with us or send us their name so we can contact them. And most importantly, if you just shoot us a message if ever you feel like things are going too tough and you don't know where to go, and we might be able to refer you to the right people. But don't be a stranger. Connect, become part of the community and family. You don't have to come to the first event. You can come whenever you can, but do connect, because ultimately we say we're a community, and my own personal mission is to actually become an active member of the community, because that's not something that I really was before facing my mental health experiences and before trying to help other men.
Okay.
So yeah.
And when we're talking about men, we're talking 18 plus.
Oh yes, please, for insurance purposes. 18 plus. I don't have the insurance for the other law.
All right.
I mean, I think in the future we'll try and do some family sort of oriented things, but it might be a case of we're going and you can turn up if you want with your family. But for the specific events that we try to arrange for example, for the January one, we'll obviously be trying to arrange for a bus to take us there and everything. 18 plus, please. All ability levels welcome. We don't go at, say, my pace, because I might be a little bit nuts compared to some people. We go at the pace of the group, because the ethos is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Siraj,
Yes.
tell us a bit about when I was this. What was I going to ask you now? Best way for us to get in contact with yourself and how people can get involved with your project.
Yes. Well, as we are still quite new, we haven't gotten as far as Men's Talk Ubuntu in regards to many social media platforms, but we do have Instagram. So you can
website.
Get us on the website. Well, yes, the website, definitely. The website, so people can link up to us and log on to the website www. I know most people don't really use www, but I'm just used to saying www.mbkinternational.org, or they can email us. General queries would go to admin@mbkinternational.org. That's where we receive general queries. We also have a virtual Black Men's Resource Open Day on Sunday, January the 16th, which would be ideal for brothers to attend. I think because obviously it's international, I always have to get the time zones right. So it commences from 6 p.m. Early evening onwards. It's going to be for some hours. There will be an opportunity for brothers to know a bit more about what we do, to meet the team, and also to basically just connect with our listed facilitators on our Black Men's Wellness Directory as well. We're going to be doing this. This won't be the first one. I mean, this will be the first one, but we will be doing this every few months, just to get, just to kind of, just spread the word and get brothers involved. This is a great opportunity for brothers not to miss out, because when it comes to our own wellness, whether it's, the mind, body, and soul, it's imperative for brothers to invest into it, and just as obviously it's also free to register, but just as brother Shamar, sorry if did I pronounce your name? Shimanda, sorry, my apologies. Just as brother Shimanda said, when people join anyway, they will find out about our package plans and so forth, because once again, we have to keep everything up and running, as we are a self-funded organization as well. And, investing in your well-being is a long-term investment, just like you would go to, spend on fast food or a new pair of Jordans every few months or whatever. This is important to take care of yourself.
Most definitely. Now we are going to come to another break, and we are going to also be joined by a colleague of Suraj's called Hugh. So Suraj, are you going to be leaving us, or are you going to stay?
I don't know too sure what the time is right now.
It's coming to 11, and
probably 5 10
you know the time has flown, innit?
Yeah, okay, I'll stay for 5. Yeah, 5 10 minutes.
Okay, so listen, you listen to the search engine. This is Anthony, currently talking with Siraj, My Brothers Keeper International. You can go and find that on mykeepersinternational.com and find out what they're doing. Some great work. I actually really want to touch a bit about your Man in the Mirror documentary as well. And also talking with Shamanda Perslow, part of the Black Men's Talk, Ubuntu. Also available on Insta, Twitter, all them social media, YouTube. And, as you've heard, doing some amazing, needed work. We'll be right back.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
Hi, I'm Natural Mystic. Help keep Legacy 90.
Okay, guys. So yeah, just doing the advert. We are still live. I'm going to bring Hugh in while we're on the advert, so we can quickly say hello, and then he can introduce himself more when we come there. I don't know if he's gone for a drink. Hi, Hugh. Are you about?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let me see you. Show yourself.
It's the same bridge on the
Are you just audio? Oh, good evening, bro. How are you doing, man?
It's a bit wild, so I just thought let me just leave on the my what do you call the thing again? The avatar. I'm here meditate in the dark.
All right, you're meditating in the dark.
Yeah.
Like it. Okay, you were just actually on a break for the radio at the moment, and we've been talking with Siraj, your partner, and Shimanda, who's also with us from Men Talk, on Ubuntu, sharing with us some absolutely amazing, valuable information. Siraj is going to stay with us for about another 5 minutes when we come back after the break, and then he's handing over to your great self to continue the conversation and share with us more information to do with my brother's keeper. So I look forward to that. Got a text there that I am gonna share it with you. She's got a bit. It's from Butterfly Slew, who's a regular listener to this radio station, and she says, "Got beautiful, sexy voices." Now,
Shamada should probably refer to you.
That's the we.
she says voices, so she ain't talking about. She's never said that about me, so it most definitely has to be.
I will say thank you, Suraj.
Yeah. I think Hugh ran off.
Has to be about you yourself.
Yeah,
okay.
I think Hugh ran off when he heard that.
He got a bit scared, didn't he?
Legacy 90.1.
Yes. Welcome back. You're on Tune to Legacy with Anthony. I'm back, and currently speaking to Suraj, and also we have Shamanda, and we also have you, who's a partner with Suraj from the My Brother's Keeper International. So I don't know. Are you staying audio? You as a
Yeah, I'm gonna stay audio just because of my lighting. Look, my lighting's not really.
So we have got audio. We did see him before, so he is human. This is not a machine that we're talking to here. He is human. So just to bring you in, and just to find out your role where MBK is concerned, a little bit about yourself and your role.
Yeah, so my professional background is in psychotherapy and mental health. I'm a mental health trainer and a psychotherapist, and I also mentor young boys, school age boys. I'm part of some big research in London regarding working on a rites of passage scheme with young boys, helping them on that difficult journey from boyhood to manhood. And it's quite a let's say preventative piece of work, in the sense of the mental health is proactive. So it's to avoid, create environments where young boys can make better decisions about them, about life, about choices, and avoid getting into gangs and avoid getting into negative activity, and to kind of be more productive in terms of school and develop better social skills. So these are the kind of qualities that help you to stay in a positive space of mental health as opposed to a negative or a deficit. So my role is really on MBK International is to, part of the management committee, but bring a little bit of experience in terms of being a practitioner in the mental health field. And just there to serve our people, really, just there to help create those safe spaces and make those connections that, Black men can actually feel, not just think, but feel it's a good space to offload, to debrief and learn, techniques and methods about self-care, because all things are mental, right? That's what the ancestors taught, that all things are mental. So we have to take care of our mind, and it takes care of everything else.
Most definitely. Thank you for that. Let me just throw this out there, and like, for we know each other now, we're brothers, we're together, we're linked, yeah. So please, Shamanda, if you have something to say with regards to what you or Suraj is saying, that clicks something for you, same for you, Suraj and Hugh. But can you tell me, and again, this is a question that I don't really know how to kind of put it to say it, but when you're doing your work, yeah, with some of these males and stuff, because sometimes it's about identification, isn't it? And identifying within yourself what's your triggers, or what these feelings are, whether we're allowed to let some of these feelings rise within us, or the fear of, if they do rise, what do I do with that? Obviously no names and stuff, but what are some of the things that males should look out for within themselves, and not be ashamed to share that information, or should be looking for somebody to at least talk to? And then two, what kind of things are very commonplace that you're finding with some of the groups or men that you're working with? I don't know who wants to come first with that.
I would just say
I don't mind. No, I don't mind just quickly jumping in with that. I feel like because I haven't been on, I'm kind of like eager to get in the conversation. But
Yeah, I'll let you take the floor, my brother.
Go.
I can see
Go on, you.
it's like the energy. But no, I was gonna say that one of the things is in a kind of generic sense, it's about male vulnerability. I think that from boyhood, from before we can probably speak, we're inculcated with various images about masculinity and manhood and men and what maleness is, and so boys really internalize their emotions and they don't always deal with them in terms of being able to express their feelings, or if it does come out, it often comes out in anger, and it can come out in destructive ways as opposed to constructive ways, because we often bottle our real feelings up and don't release them in a kind of like a controlled environment, if you can say. And so we can tend to have these kind of like explosive outbursts because we carry so much oftentimes as men. And the key for me is about how to deal with vulnerability. There is a thing with young men who don't always know the direction we want to go in. We're not often quite sure. And more than that, it's not even just a case of not having positive role models. It's about feeling like, you know what, I'm comfortable in saying I don't really have the answers, I'm unsure. And I need someone to process this, because we kind of like, as I said, internalize it either that, it's vulnerable for me not to know. I should know and I should have all the answers. And there's all these expectations of me, and I've got to be a provider and I've got to get my money up, whether legally or illegally. But there's all these different type of societal pressures that are on young men. So that seems to be a common denominator, and it's about saying, we're human and we're fallible, and that being vulnerable is not a weakness, it's a strength, because it's like you can be real with yourself. You can check in with yourself and say, I'm not doing too well. I'm not coping. This isn't really going well for me in life. It doesn't mean that it's going to always be this way, but right now where I am, I need to make some adjustments, make some changes, as opposed to just denying and saying I'm all right until the wheels come off. So, the kind of common denominators of dealing with that challenge of being uncertain and not having all the answers, as we kind of like internalize as males that we should and always know. So that's something that I've come across in my kind of like professional journey.
Excellent. Do you want to add anything to that, Suraj?
Well, my brother basically took everything.
Yeah,
he speaks for, he's one of the representatives, so he also speaks alongside me. So just about brothers knowing that it's okay, to express emotion, especially in the society we live in, where there's a lot of pressure on the black man, and that doesn't take away that there isn't pressure on the black woman, but we are taught not to express our emotions. So we're taught not to express our emotions, because if we express our emotions in a vulnerable sense, then it shows that we are, it shows that it takes away from our masculinity, So when and because of that, obviously brothers feel that maybe it's best not to, express that. And as as my brother Hugh said, they tend to bottle that inside, and then become quite self-destructive and fall into the traps of the system, where they then get labeled that that we are the problem, or that we're the threat to society. So it's great, for our brothers to be able to express themselves, so they can be obviously more productive within society, because it's I think a lot of our brothers don't see the value of expressing themselves, and also doing something about their, not just their mental well-being, but also their spiritual well-being as well. Because we do get brothers in the UK, or in probably the US, or in the Western society anyway, what utilize obviously the gym facilities and so forth, where they're building up their whole physicality, but also what about the stretching? A lot of our brothers don't, even when they go into these spaces, that what about the stretching out the muscles, or trying to obviously get that, align themselves with that spirituality,
Excellent. Okay. And for you, Shamanda, because I know also there's a lot of podcasts on your YouTube site, so there's a lot of conversations that I know you're having. So what are they certain areas of within Men Talk that is reoccurring?
I'll definitely say so. Some of the conversations, obviously, while we're hiking, all those conversations are confidential. We don't really share them or anything like that. But for sure, there's some themes that crop up. Whilst Hugh and Suraj were talking, a few things came to mind. I mean, the immediate one being, speaking of podcasts, our most recent podcast was with Dr. Yvonne Guest, who does research around resilience and trauma. And vulnerability was tied to that as well, because if we think about what causes, so we say vulnerability requires you to share emotion, but I think Hugh was touching on it. It also requires you to be able to say, I don't know. And it's amazing that sometimes people would rather get fired because they're perceived as underperforming or lazy, because they're not able to actually just say, I don't know. Help me figure out how to do this, which is what workplaces are supposed to do, basically. There's one of the points we were discussing with her, so it's around resiliency, trauma, and vulnerability, and the need to express. And it's exactly as you were describing as well. We literally said the same thing, where we're saying it's like putting those emotions, you're bottling them up, and something will happen in the external environment that will shake the can, and eventually it'll blow up in someone's face, and that's what you don't want. Talking about emotions, anger, I think in particular, especially if it's related to trauma. This isn't particular to Black men, because also, again, like I say, Men Talk Ubuntu is open. We can work with everybody and under the sun. We just have a particular focus on Black men because that's our community area, Abuse and trauma are definitely an area that we can open up about. That's one area that is tough to talk about and perhaps requires actually more professionals to guide the conversation. But it happens, and it's often overlooked and ignored. It happens more than we would speak about. Finances, I think that was mentioned before. I think you mentioned it, Anthony, while you were talking about some of the other causes.
Yeah, that report.
Yeah, because there's a lot about wanting to be perceived as doing well and having this value placed on you. In fact, I was having a discussion on Monday about this, and where if you need finances before you can feel happy, for me, I have an inherent problem with that. I used to think that way, and I used to think you have to strive and you have to achieve, and then you earn the right to be happy, especially if you're coming from a place that has exposure to poverty. It's almost like you have no right to be happy until you've maximized the opportunity that's in front of you. And when we think about living like that on a daily basis, that's like akin to chronic stress. Every day you have to wake up and you don't feel good enough. And now I'm like, no, you should be able to wake up and just smile and be happy with who you are. Never mind if you've done wrong things in the past and all, but for today, it shouldn't cost you everything to just be happy. You don't have to be happy with your situation, but to be happy is okay. Relationships, of course, that's another universal one. But I think in particular with the way that we communicate with one another, particularly perhaps in these contexts that are outside of the, shall we say, our native element, where our own culture would be predominant. When we're in another culture, in another setting, and both of us have probably taken on characteristics that aren't our standard, then yeah, we interact in a different way and we perceive each other in a different way. Because what's valued here in the UK in behavior, in how you carry yourself, in how you eat, just in all sorts of ways, how you behave with one another, especially in the home, it's different perhaps to what some of us were used to. So expressing that is important. Expressing how to know how to support each other, how to know how to open up. And I think part of it is also why we encourage men to come onto our hikes is you're not always going to be able to share everything at home. Some things you have to talk about with other men, and you have to trust other men before you can open up to them about some of these things. And in order to build the trust, essentially you need to be part of a community. So that's why we come and come and present that. And I think the final one, which relates to what I was saying about networks before, is just, links back to Hugh's point about asking for help. Being able to ask for help and being able to put yourself in a situation that you might not be familiar or comfortable with, because it may lead you to opportunities that you didn't know about. Because that's one of the things we try and do with our guests. We bring them from different careers, not just so they can talk about mental health and normalize it, but so that they can also show, you can become a veterinarian, you can become a psychologist or a counselor. Like, these avenues are open to you. You don't have to, importantly, it takes study, it takes dedication, it takes discipline. Just reinforcing that. Proactive, no excuses, and just be open overall.
And it's very important, like you say there, in the sense of bringing different people from different walks of life, even just to share what it is like they do. Sometimes I use the analogy, because you talk to some people, young people, and I know even when I was at school in the olden days, coming out, I didn't know what to do. I was one of those stereotypical young males who, when they said, what do you want to do? It was sports, for the most part, because that's what I really felt that I was good at. And I didn't know so many, even though when I think back now and you're going through life, obviously you got to catch the bus. So there's a bus driver, there's shopkeepers, that there are these roles, but you don't equate them to something that you're going to earn a living from. And it's like, I've got children, and I think Peppa Pig, I don't want to get onto the Boris Johnson role, but before Boris Johnson was talking about Peppa Pig, I was using that as an example with regard to the fact that it's virtually a 5-minute cartoon, but when that cartoon finishes, the credits that come up after it are virtually as long as the cartoon itself, with how many people are involved in making that, and it goes into so many areas of how much different roles they are and jobs that are out there, that so many are just not aware of or given the chance to even try to be some form of an apprentice in that kind of role. And it's really sad. I've got a text that here from Joe, and Joe says, a great topic, and I feel your conversation is very interesting and vital in your acknowledgement and support of Black men by listing the issues which affect T.J. Bowler, titled The Selfless Act of Breathing, which is relevant to your conversation tonight. Have any of you guys heard of that? Let me say it again. And Joe, if I've got that wrong, let me know. T.J. Bowler, B-O-L-A, and the title is The Selfless Act of Breathing, which is relevant to your conversation tonight. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Joe, for that. I will definitely, T.J. Bowler, I will have a look at that myself. And time is rushing again, guys.
I was going to time out, so I don't know. Is Hugh still on?
You still with you?
Man.
Okay.
Okay. Can you
ready
talk?
to carry the baton?
Can you? You ain't got long. We've literally got 10 minutes. But Siraj, I mean, can you talk to Man in the Mirror? Yeah.
Yeah. What would you like to?
Well, quickly then, before you leave us, yeah.
All right.
Give us a little bit about Man in the Mirror documentary, please.
Okay. Yes. So the Man in the Mirror documentary was basically, going back on the story, because I know I briefly touched on it earlier, but basically the Man in the Mirror documentary was it was just an initiative which just came to me, where I felt it was vital for me to express myself, but do it in a way where I could create a visual out of it. With just growing up in the United Kingdom, facing various obstacles where other people within the Black family could relate to, you know, such as going through the public schooling system, you know, as a black man, well, young black boy, being in, you know, growing up in a time where, you know, you're kind of in between the suburbs and the inner city life, and also just growing up in an environment where there's, you know, there was lots of racism. You know, growing up in an environment with lots of racism, and just trying to deal with the different obstacles and dynamics, which obviously plays a huge part on our mental well-being, you know, without getting the support needed, or even knowing, oh, brother's timed out, without getting the necessary support needed, and also, as we were speaking about, becoming self-destructive, as many of us become when we don't obviously get that necessary support to help us through the you know, the healing process, or the, you know, the grieving processes we go through. And yeah, you know, I
just while you were talking there, I've had a call. Yeah, so I've got a caller on the line, guys, that had something to say with you. So let's just bring her on, if that's okay. Hi, Joe.
Me, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Anthony. How are you?
And the guys can hear you. Can hear Joe, guys? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. The text. I think something's wrong with my phone. Anyway, I'll just read
go
out.
ahead.
Okay. Where is it now? I said a great topic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I said a great topic. I feel your conversation is very interesting and vital in your acknowledgement and support of Black men by listing the issues which affect their mental health, leading to depression and mental illness. I'm aware of the wonderful work of Ubuntu and support it 100%. Also, there's a book by J.J. Bola, B-O-L-A, I think, titled, quote, The Selfless Act of Breathing. I think he's a mental health practitioner or something like that.
Okay.
The Selfless Act of Breathing, which is relevant to your conversation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you,
That's
Joe.
it.
Thank you very much. Nice to hear from you as well, yeah?
Yes, I'm listening. I just caught you by chance.
Okay. Well,
because I didn't hear you for a while.
Well, keep listening, Joe. I've got a message coming up after the break that I think you might be interested in, yeah?
Okay, and I like the beginning. I heard the beginning as well. I'll be listening next week.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks to the guys, the men there. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they're saying thank you too. Okay, that was Joe. Joe, another regular listener for us. She should have a show on the search engine. She's part of our Arise Women team. Yeah, so thank you for that, Siraj. So does that mean you're letting us go? Peace and blessings, bro.
Peace and blessings. Well, yeah, no, Hugh, you know, he would he's gonna take on, you know.
Yeah, for the last 5. In fact, I'm gonna give you 10. So we're gonna come back for 5 minutes after the break because I ate into your time with my first interview. Well, I promise. So we'll take 5 minutes back after the break. So we'll give you that time there. Listen, Siraj, thank you very much for agreeing to come on. Absolutely amazing work that you're doing. I do think, and I'd like to say that I think, you know, it really was great to talk to you and Shimanda, and I'm hopeful that maybe you two might even link up yourselves. You know, there's some mountains in London too, isn't there?
Yeah, well, somewhere, yeah.
I'll definitely be connecting with you after this.
No, that's love. But yeah, just before I go, the website information is there, and which is www.mbkinternational.org.
Okay, excellent.
So any other information is on the website.
All right then. All right, peace and blessings, Siraj. Yeah, Take care,
Appreciate
man. All right.
Okay.
Peace. Okay, then I'm going to come straight over to you. I mean, I don't know if you were listening on the radio or anything that's before, but is there anything that you feel that you really need to share with us, with the listeners?
Yeah, just the fact that MPK International is it's not just that it's necessarily pioneering in terms of some of the kind of like the platform we're trying to create and link kind of international sphere of Black brothers, but just the fact that we need to. I mean, Suraj has probably covered it to say that we really need to invest in ourselves as Black men, and we need to see ourselves as, I guess, leaders in our communities, plural, and we have to step up. And first thing is taking care of self. That we have responsibilities as a role as men, but we have to be how can I put it? To be the best versions of ourselves, we have to take care of ourselves before we can really be that support system and care for others. So it's really important that we take that opportunity to check in and get a mental service, physical services. So many things available in terms of breathing techniques and teachers that would people that deal with things like mindfulness. There's counseling. There's money management. There's a whole host of services that is available, that would be available on a platform. And it really it's just a great opportunity and a great time. And in the past, because we had to go through the system and the gatekeepers of the system, and like racism, white supremacy sometimes was a hindrance. But with the www, the World Wide Web, we've many people are able to be independent and work and not have to go through the gatekeeper. So it's our time and this is our thing. And so brothers just need to tune in. And for all the empresses that are listening, spread the word to the kings, man. Spread the word to the brethren, them, so that they know we're out here doing the work. And there's
and can you just say a bit about, with regard to the website? I don't know if it's there up at the moment, but the services that you offered, is it still a 24-hour online access?
So the launch is in January, right? But
okay,
the actual website is there with all the information about what services will be on offer once it's launched. And there's like a chat room, like a vlog space, but also in terms of practitioners that you can connect with.
Okay.
So whether it's a brothers group or it's individual one-to-one sessions, or around, like I said, whether it's around finance, mindfulness, breathing techniques, nutrition, and like weight loss management or food management, because health is wealth on all different levels. So we deal with mental, physical, and the spiritual as well.
Okay. All right. Stay with us. We just got a break, but I'm going to be coming back to you. All right. We'll be right back. Literally got 10 minutes to go. We're going to be talking to the guys for another 5 minutes after the break. So stay with us. See you in a bit.
Feel the vibe on Legacy.
WI.
Yes, guys. So what did I have here? There was something I wanted to ask you, which where is it? I wrote it down. I just wanted to put it to you. It might go into, do you know, with regard to mental health, the issues, trauma, the things that kind of like bring pressure and stuff. And I wrote down here happiness versus pain. In the sense that I was trying to reflect on it, I think at some point yesterday, because we look at pain and trauma and as something that can either stagnate you. For some people, pain can even push them forward to get things done. And I kind of was looking at it in the sense of happiness, in the sense that happiness can also do the same thing. If you are I don't know, brought up in a family and it's constantly happy, great environment, when you go into another environment and that's not there, it can have an impact on you. Now, hopefully, if you can stay with me, hopefully I'm kind of like making sense in some way. I know in China, they have a symbol for chaos. And the same symbol that they use for chaos is also a symbol for opportunity. But I never really hear happiness being talked about in the same way as pain. Is there that any kind of resonance for you in those two? I mean, am I just in my own head?
No, I think there is a resonance for me, but so I like to give long answers and short answers. I'll give the short answer first because we're tight on time.
Right.
The
well,
short answer,
hold up. I just did the advert, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on the advert now, so I'm going to come back. So I've really got 14 seconds. So hold that just for 10 seconds, and then give us the answer there, Samantha. Yeah. Okay.
0.1 FM. Feel the vibe.
Legacy 9.1.
Okay, welcome back. You're on Tune to the Search Engine with Anthony, currently here with Hugh from My Brother's Keeper, took over from Siraj, and also still with Shamanda. Just before I went to the break, I'm not going to go really into what I just said. You can go back online and go back and find out what I said, because I don't think I could repeat it anyway, because I was a bit confused getting there myself. But a brother seems to have got me. Yeah. So Shamanda's going to give me a little response to what I said.
Yeah, I think I got you. When it comes to pain versus happiness, why we look at one more or talk about one much more than the other when it comes to pain being associated with opportunity or chaos and coming out of finding the good out of all this, yeah, versus happiness, where it seems like a lot more vague and fleeting. I think it's partly, if we break it down, you know, when you're experiencing pain, you put your hand on the stove, you get pricked, you stub your toe. Pain is something that has an effect, whereas happiness is something that you can almost choose. So its subjectability is so vast. It'll mean different things to different people. Some people can be happy watching the sunset. Some people won't be happy until they have $1 million in the bank. So it's a constantly moving target. Whereas with pain, I think we're very clear on what it is. And because of that, we're also very clear on how to avoid it. Because that's what a lot of people tend to do. You're either, they say, running away from pain or running towards happiness. And more people will run away from pain than they will do to run towards happiness, often because there are a lot of obstacles in the way of happiness. And there's a lot more internal digging that we have to do. So like when we get people on our events or even on the podcast or the walks or people in general in life, we all know people who have what from the outside looking in seems like they have everything, and yet they could still be as unhappy as someone who might have nothing. So there's that common denominator of that happiness is elusive, and it's something that really only comes from a point that we touched on earlier, you knowing who you are, being comfortable with your identity, because then you know what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know who you are, if you don't really know what drives you, what makes you happy, you're constantly trying to just please other people, perhaps, you're never going to be happy, because those goalposts are always moving. And sometimes some of the things that are stopping you from being happy are things that you mentioned that you have to get vulnerable about. You have to perhaps look at, what are the things that affected me? What are the mindsets that I have to change for myself? Or even maybe I have to work harder. I have to dream bigger, because I'm not doing myself any favors. I am feeling stagnant. Yeah, yes, address that. So it's, even when we say mental health, it's a very complex field, you know. But the best thing that you can do is just make a start.
Yeah,
and making a start will definitely make you happier.
Because I think the point I'm trying to make, because you get to the happiness, and sometimes you can, and again, I may be using the wrong words here. You can want to hold on. You know, if this happiness state, let's put it that way, is not something that's happening for you on a regular basis. When it's happening, when it does happen, you want to hold on to it. Yeah. So for instance, if say that's the base level, you'll get happy and you'll rise up there, and you want to stay there, which is impossible, because just like the weather, it's going to change. So when you get so high, the drop is like bad eye. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not something that you're used to, where it's like trying to get to that point where this is a feeling that you should have. It's right to have that. It doesn't have to go that high. You should have that. So yeah, that's the kind of point that I was.
I'm with you. I'll add a shameless plug, which is if you attend our walk on the 22nd of January, I guarantee you will learn to lower your bar for happiness and go back to food, shelter, and clothing.
Yes. I don't know if you want to add something to that, Hugh.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think that as human beings, we can at least culturally be inclined to avoid pain and just pursue happiness as like a kind of end goal, a continuous end goal. And when you pursue happiness in a particular way, it can be like you're on a treadmill, or it's like a oasis that you never arrive at this sought happiness, especially if it's sought outside of yourself and sought on a kind of material level. So you find that there's people who are on 100 grand a year, but they're not happy. And the guy that's on 20 grand says, well, what's his problem? And the guy that's, that on 100 wants to be on 500 or, a million and so on, because we're seeking things outside of ourselves. But I think if we are able to appreciate some of the beautiful things in life that don't cost, our connection with family, the relationships that we have, health, faculty of mind, free will, these different things that don't cost anything, but they're very, very valuable, and I'd say priceless. Those priceless things, like I said, like our relationships, then happiness is kind of like a different. I would see as a healthy maintenance of those things. Pain, again, because the way that culture, we're influenced by culture. I think that we can be very avoidant of pain, but pain, when I'm talking emotional pain, not necessarily physical pain, because that sounds like maybe to do with health, but when we talk about emotional pain, sometimes it's a trajectory for growth. It's those maybe, like, for example, romantic relationships that we've had, and that out of relationships ending, and it's been a painful experience. But like when we look back at how that triggered us to grow, to have to review, where we've been, what was our mindset at, some of the mistakes that we made, where we need to be, and by working and doing that doing that men's work, for example, talking in the context of men, really like holding ourselves accountable and trying to raise the bar on our integrity, that when we look back at where we've come from, we said, that was a painful experience that got me here, but it was the fuel, it was a push that pushed me in a particular direction. So, you mentioned that word pain, and it really got my ear, because I know that usually pain is just associated with negativity, and we don't desire pain, but sometimes it has a rude way of barging its way into our life. But it's not always a bad thing. It's what we desire, but it's not always a bad thing if we approach it in a particular kind of context.
Okay, brilliant. Guys, listen. Time is come to that point. So, and it's been gone so fast. It'll be interesting, the conversation that you have tomorrow with Siraj, Hugh, because Siraj thought he would only be here for half an hour. Yeah. So I'd like to thank you both for being with us, and I hope we're going to be able to link again in the future. Definitely putting in my diary for that 22nd, Shimanda. But just, Shimanda, some last words from yourself.
I'll just say thank you for having me on. I like to just say to people towards the end of some podcast episodes to remember that it is good and it is important that you are here. And I hope you take care of yourself and those that you love, I suppose. That's the best message that I can give you.
And just quickly reminders of how people can find out more and get in touch with Men Talk.
Best way, find us on whichever social platform you engage the most with and drop us a message. It is Men Talk, all one word, MENTALK, Ubuntu, space, then Ubuntu, UBUNTU. If you search for Men Talk Ubuntu on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts or wherever you like to post pictures and comment, give us a follow, say hello, and connect with us. I'd honestly love to connect with you have you be part of the community, hear some of the ideas that you have for what we can do to bring everybody together. If you run an organization, whether you focus on, not focus on Black men, if you focus on women, whatever it is, if you see a way for us to collaborate or add value to each other, that's what we're trying to do, be part of the community. So reach out and say hello, or if you see us, send a request, holla back.
Excellent, excellent. Hugh?
Yes, pleasure being there. The short time I was here, it was powerful, man. It was powerful. I missed the reasoning. But just to say, www.mbkinternational.org. That's where you can get more information about us, and try not to miss the launch date, Sunday the 16th of January, 6 p.m. UK time. And appreciate the opportunity, my brother, to share these moments to discuss something really important on the platform.
Nah, it's been a pleasure, man. Been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. And like I said, I look forward to us doing something again. Yeah. Okay. Peace and blessings, guys. So you take care, and
oneness.
Keep up the good work. Okay. See ya. Okay, that's it for literally that's it. At 12, end of the show. Right, I've got something that I need to share with you out there as listeners. I'm going to come off where I've been on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm going to come off that because I need to talk to my terrestrial listeners, those who have been here and with me and with Legacy for a number of years. So if you are online and you are listening, then if you can tune into the radio, then you'll be able to hear what I've got to say. But thank you very much for those who have been online and have been listening to Siraj and Shamanda and Hugh. Yeah, brilliant guys doing some absolutely amazing work. And yes, I'm sure they will keep that up. And if you want to get on doing some walking, 22nd of January, Black men, you want to be walking up Snowdon, then get in touch with Men Talk Ubuntu. Okay, take care. See you bye online, that is.